Hey there, I'm Mike Pulaski. Welcome to Elite Athletes TV Quarterback Training. I'm an 11-year pro, and today I'm going to teach you how quarterbacks should learn, how they do learn, and what you can do to help them. I'm also going to teach you how Shakespeare was right. Ready? Well, you're probably thinking, I tuned into this to watch football, and he's telling me that Shakespeare is right. Well, when I say that, what I mean is that famous line from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, would arose by any other name, not smell as sweet. In football, there have been, over the course of the years, so many plays designed off of simple concepts. And oftentimes coaches like to take plays, take concepts, and rename them so that they have ownership of them, so that they code them for their offense, so that they can change little pieces of them. But in all, the concept stays intact the whole time. And so when I'm talking about naming conventions, there are different teams that do it different ways. A West Coast guy will name it through names. They'll give names to routes. I played for Sam Weich with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he had plays like Exit, Dover, Zulu, Yogi. That's one way. When you play in the true West Coast, when Bill Walsh had it, it was Z short flanker drive. It was Twin Dragon. It was those kind of names. And so all these coaches take these offenses and they change the names to fit their system, to fit their style. But really, it's all the same concepts. And that gets into how quarterbacks learn. You have to think about a young quarterback as they're learning the game. When you're teaching them the game, and goes for receivers and everybody else, but quarterbacks have the most to learn. And as they start off in a game, any athlete, they start by learning skills. From the quarterback position, it's the skill of throwing the ball. Maybe it's the skill of dropbacks. I can still remember, I didn't really play quarterback until I was a sophomore in high school. And I can still remember the first time playing in that old wing tee offense, trying to run the 30 gut handoff, and how foreign that was to me, how strange. And so learning the skills first is really important. Quarterbacks have to get the skills, start to master the skills. At the same time they're doing that, they have to start to learn the jargon, the verbiage to it. Like I said, wing tee, 30 gut, 28 sweep, 19 boot. It's all of that stuff. If you're playing in a West Coast, like I said, Z short flanker drive. If you're playing in a digit system, I played a digit system in college where we would have a color for protection. We could have silver 98, which would be 4 verticals. We could have Act 2 768, which would be a play action pass. 7 route is the corner route. 6 is the shallow crosser, and the 8's the post. And so you can be in digits, you can be in a naming convention, but whatever it is, your quarterback has to learn that next. And so while they're learning that convention of a naming, then they're starting to learn assignment. So it's not just on this play, Act 2, 768, I've got to give the play action fake, I've got to drop back, I've got to read the 7 to the 6 to the back. And so learning your assignment, right? So you go from skills to assignment. Then from assignment, you go to concept. What's the overall concept of the play? We're going to talk about concept here today. And so understanding the concept of the play I just talked to you about, 768, that's a triangle read, high-low in the flat. And so when you have that concept down, you're finally getting it, you're understanding that concept, now you have to learn in terms of system. So we got skills, we got assignment, we got concept, now we've got system. So where does this concept fit within our system? Well, if it's a triangle read or it's a flood read or it's a 2-on-1 read, whatever it is, you can start to match up plays that are similar so that you can start to categorize them. The way the human brain works is it wants to categorize things and put them together so you don't have to remember every single little thing about every single little play. And so that's when you're starting to learn system. And then overall, you start to learn global. You attach, what does the defense do to this? How do I block this up front? Am I protected? Do I have to check out of this play? And now you're thinking globally. How do I get my receivers right? Can I check out of something? Can I give myself a tag on the backside? And so it's a whole system in a way that a quarterback learns. It's skills, assignment, concept, system, and then global. It's an acronym, SCAGS. No. Anyway, that's how you learn. You start there. You start at skills. You end at global. And once you get to global, you can be a pretty good player at the position. But today I want to talk about a couple of concepts, and we're going to start off by looking at a triangle read. It's one of the simplest concepts in football. Every team in America runs it, whether they know they do or not. So right now, let's take a look at the film, and I'm going to break down a couple different pieces of film, and I'll show you how the triangle read works here for several different teams. So we're looking at Washington State here, and this is when Mike Leach was up there at Washington State, obviously the godfather of the air raid offense, along with Hal Mumme. But one of the mainstays in that air raid offense is what they call the mesh route. And so the mesh is actually the two inside guys running shallow crosses using the pick or the rub aspect of it across the middle. And there's rules. I don't claim to be an air raid specialist, even though Leacher's a good buddy of mine. I don't claim to be a big air raid guy. I haven't been schooled in the system. But these guys work off of each other to get open. There's different rules in terms of who's over the top, who's under, the whole 9 yards. Along with that, they're going to run a switch route outside here with a deep over. And on this route, you're going to see back out of the backfield running a wheel route down the sideline. So what you end up when you get this route combination together is you end up with what's called a triangle read. So top to bottom down, that is a triangle read. And it's one of the most basic reads in all of offensive football. And what you're trying to do is put three guys in the space where the defense has maybe one or two when you're working against zone. In this case, they're working against man. And so what were read routes originally, in terms of sit-downs, become runaways. Now these guys, because they're being trailed, are running away from defense. And the same thing on this cross, he's running away as well. Anytime you get man versus flattened routes, you're going to run away versus man. And so let's take a look at this play real quick here. You see shallow crosses inside and that deep cross over the top. Right here, now the receiver is flattened some. He got forced down by a linebacker. But here's a receiver, here's a receiver, here's a receiver. There's your triangle for the quarterback to read. You notice here it's versus man. They vacated. And on the outside, I really like this route that they've added that wheel by the tailback coming out. That's Max Borg. He's a really good football player. And then on the top side, they also have a vertical route. So it's keeping the top coverage off the top of the receiver here. Let's run it back one more time. Let you take a look at it. Again, this is man. We'll take a look at zone here in a second. So that's your triangle route concept. That's exactly what it's designed to do, is get that man open in the middle. You see everything has cleared out in here, and it leaves a nice throwing lane for your quarterback down the middle. That's because they're chasing it in man. So now let's take a look at another play. So now you've got Oregon State, and they're playing Stanford. And you can see just from the pre-snap alignment, Stanford's also playing man here. Corners are locked down here, looking straight at their man. Safety staring straight at his man. Linebacker pretty intent in the backfield. And so looks like they're going to bring 4 to 5 up front. They have 5 rush guys lined up front with another safety back off the top. So probably another man look. And right there on the snap, you can see it. Everybody lines up man. Safety jumps over the top. He's taking tight end man. Now I'll show you that triangle read here. And it looks a little different here. This is an old school West Coast style play. And this is what they would call flanker drive. And so what you're going to end up getting, tight end's going to run a basic cross. Your flanker in this case is going to run a drive route. Again, it's versus man here, so you're going to get runaways. But then your back is the third part of this triangle. He is going to check and then release and sit down. And so once he sits down, you're going to have a triangle right here between these three. It gets kind of messy. But your flanker, drive, tight end, basic, back, and I'll put him a little wider. And now you can see there's that triangle that forms right there. Now I like on this play, they've actually tagged on Another concept on the outside, an out with the go route over the top. And so what they're trying to do is versus man coverage, they're trying to get this receiver soloed up. And that out route versus man is a great route, but Stanford plays it pretty well. Let's take a look at it. You can see Stanford jumps this with that safety. The basic comes into that hole. The shallow cross is coming across, all running away versus man. And here's your back down here. Quarterback is harassed, so he has to get rid of that ball earlier than he would like to. And so what he does in this read, and I'll show you this real quick, is he doesn't recognize that the safety, watch him on the snap, jumps outside. And so when he jumps outside, he's going to cut off that out route. The reason he's doing it is because he knows he has help inside from another safety. And so with that help, he can jump outside and bracket that in. So it's a great play design on defense by Stanford. It's a tough read by the quarterback because he's expecting man, but instead he's got man but with outside shade. So as he turns because he's pressured, he has to get rid of that ball early. In this scheme, they are running a ton of loops. They do this up front all the time. And so they make you waste blockers. You watch this front for Stanford slant this way. And so with these two guys, they occupy these three offensive linemen, expecting that third man to rush. Now, as a result, when these guys all come out and head out to the outside fan to protect, you're going to get a looper who comes in, and he becomes a free runner at Oregon State's quarterback here. So great scheme. You see you got a free hitter here. Quarterback has to get rid of this ball early. If he had time, or if he'd have checked his hot down below, he's literally got this running away. Whenever you run that flanker drive, that's your hot, that's your quick throw. This isn't really blitz because Stanford is really only bringing 5 guys. They've got 5 to pick up 5, but they just wasted a guy on the extra spin. I'll let you run it back one time here. Wasted a guy on the extra looper. So you can see that's a concept. It gives you that nice triangle read. That's another way of looking at it. So that's a couple looks at the triangle read on film. Now let's take a look. You can see I've got my 1992 Tampa Bay Buccaneers playbook, and we'll talk about the triangle read and how you read it as a quarterback. So you can see here, we have the same type of play concept where you have Y on the shallow, potential sit down, H coming on the shallow, potential sit down, and the Z on what they call the Dover, deep over. And in this case, you can see back notes back here, can be run off a dog stem. So either he can take that straight stem, head upfield, and deep over, or he can dog leg that stem in and then cross again. And so what you're trying to accomplish with this set is you're trying to get that triangle read again inside. And what you end up with is you have one route versus zone, sits down here 8 yards, 10 yards, and then over the top, deep over the top, you have the 20 yards, and you can see that little hash mark inside telling him he can sit down. If you look down at the quarterback progression, your quick is the Y over. Always quick is your Y over. So that's your hot. They called it quick in Sam's offense. He changed up a lot of the verbiage coming from that West Coast from Bill Walsh. But he called it your Q, your quick, which means if you get some kind of hot, something that you need to throw right now, it's going to be your quick down to your Y. Then your 1 is your deep over. They're going for the deep ball on this one. 20 yards downfield. It's that deep triangle. They're trying to get the ball downfield with it. And they're using that clear route coming through. The X route right here coming through, trying to clear that deep middle. So whether this is an open middle or a closed middle, they're trying to get him through to keep those safeties off deep. Now this is obviously before Tampa 2 came into style. But you can see right here, here's the note. Cannot be held up. This has to clear through because you want to take the top off the coverage because you're looking to throw that 20-yard deep over to the inside. So, but then if you come back off of that, obviously 2 is the Y over you come off the Dover down to the Y over on the cross. 3 is the H over, halfback over, whoever it is playing that position. It can be a second tight end. It can be a fullback in that spot. But he is your third. And so there's your triangle read. And then, of course, your fullback through. This is the check down. Nice little addition here. So if everything clears out, linebackers jump on this. For some reason, you have a safety that stays home. You always have a check down to your back. And as a quarterback, check downs are always saving you. It's a nice way to get out of trouble. And so having the check down here is a nice way to get out of this. But you can see that simple triangle read with a check down. And so obviously they call this the alert. You literally almost never throw that alert. It's on there. It's nice to think of. Once in a blue moon, you might be able to hit it. Let's take a look at one more concept here. And that's the flasher. So again, same idea. This is the straight Z cross. And what you're getting is, again, Z on that cross ending up at 6 to 8 yards. Now the X is coming over on what you call the basic. It's a bender, a short dig. A lot of people call it an in route. So whatever you call it in your system, that's the look. And then this time, rather than having that back sit down, you've got the Y, and he's running a little sit down at 8 to 10 yards. And so calling it a stop here, but he has the option of moving off the outside. And then as a safety off the outside, again, you've got the fullback. We talked about it. Alerts right here. You get some kind of man coverage, a mismatch on the outside. It's potential for you. You almost never use that route, but you have it built into the system. So, again, as we take it through, we go through the progression. You're quick. Obviously, once again, Z shallow cross. Anybody comes hot, we're going to hit that Z coming across the middle. He can also sit down right now. If everything clears out, he can sit down right over the ball, and you can deliver that in a hurry. If it opens up right now, side adjust, quarterback and Z on the same page, you get him the ball. And then your X in is your number 2 if you're going pure progression, and then your stop. So as a quarterback, makes it an easy read. You've got your triangle inside. If this clears through, there's your simple triangle right there. Easy to read, 3-on-2 on the inside, and the triangle read has been effective for quarterbacks at just about every level of football. So that's a look at the triangle read, and that's what I was talking about when I said, Shakespeare was right. The triangle read is a concept, and it works in every different system. You saw it in the air raid. They call it from the mesh. In the West Coast, they call it from the flanker drive. In Sam's offense, it was the Dover or the exit or a bunch of different routes. And so there's triangles built into that look over the middle. There's also triangles on the outside, and I'll talk about those later on. But understanding the triangle read and the concept behind it and how you can win as a quarterback is really important to your growth. Learning that as a concept in that stage that I talked about, where you're going from skills assignment, concept systems, global, that's your concept stage. Quarterbacks need to understand that triangle read so they can play the position. If you like what I did here today, please give me a thumbs up. I would love it if you were to subscribe to the channel. That way, every time we have something come out, if you're a young quarterback, you can learn from it. You can also find quarterback training in terms of physical skills, drills, and all of that at EliteAthletesTV.com, where we teach you how you can get better physically as well. I want to bring you as much quarterback training as you can get because I didn't have this growing up, and so it's a great opportunity to learn the game, to teach you the skills that you're going to need to play at your elite level. Thanks for watching today. I'm Mike Pulaski, quarterback training, Elite Athletes TV. I love bringing it to you, and I'll see you next time.